Presentations. My name is Aida Farhat, and I have my guest, Mr. Michael Lee Hill. Welcome, Michael Lee. We appreciate you coming on, buddy. Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's an honor. I'm going to share a quick bio to give those of you that are not familiar with Michael and his work some information of his background, and then we'll open the show up. Michael will be sharing a presentation of different crop circles and his experiences with connecting with the Anunnaki, who he is, his DNA, bloodline, and so much more. So Michael Lee Hill is an award-winning musician, filmographer, and UFO experiencer. His footage of the Lake Erie UFOs has created a Billy Meyer-like buzz, and Michael seems to have developed an intuitive relationship with these craft. Are you kidding me?
What happened?
Michael?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There it goes.
Are you there?
Yes. My messenger popped up. Sorry, guys.
Yes. Okay. Never mind.
What was that? Okay. It's okay. Guys, understand just real quick, for those of you that are listening live and those that will be watching this on YouTube, we are streaming through a different, through StreamYard. And it's our first time trying this. And I'm not technically savvy by no means. So Jennifer is kind enough to help me out tonight. So just bear with us, but we'll get moving here. So back to, and I appreciate everyone's patience. Okay, so his footage of Lake Erie UFOs has created a Billy Meyer-like buzz, and Michael seems to have developed an intuitive relationship with these crafts. In his home state of Ohio, Michael has been cataloging video after video of UFOs over Lake Erie. He has been featured on the History Channel, countless radio and TV programs, and a special speaker at the Star Knowledge Conference. The phenomena consists almost entirely of pulsating orbs of light. Unusual light seen changing colors, converging, and separating over the lake. Stories of the unexplained phenomena date back over 150 years to indigenous North American Indian tribes. Michael, welcome. That was a lot and a little tongue-tied because we got disrupted there, but you will have plenty of time. For those that have not heard Michael's story before or are not familiar with his work, it's quite fascinating. So, Michael, welcome again. And please share a little. You're welcome. Thank you. Share a little bit more about your history a little bit before we go into your presentation, if that's okay.
Right on. Well, where it all began, thousands of years ago. No. I lived right near Lake Erie. That's where I was raised and ended up having a house and started to see these orbs of light, chariots of fire, whatever you want to call them. And, my light just went off. That probably makes this really dark.
No, actually, we see you really good, but
perfect.
There's not a lot of anomalies that have taken place.
It's been a strange day, huh?
Yes, it has been, but that's okay.
Where that light went off, but hey, so I started seeing these orbs of light they have like multi-dimensional colors. They're showing up worldwide, so I'm pretty sure your listeners have seen the same phenomenon. Actually, man, sometimes my brain don't work right, but when you said phenomenon, I thought of that song Phenomenon. Phenomenon. Anyhow. And
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Man. See, I really have a messed up sense of humor, and it gets me in a lot of trouble because I'm like Jack Black is like my hero. And just sometimes it's not appropriate. I'm learning, but
you're fine. Be you, authentically, genuinely you, and that's all anybody can. I mean, if anybody appreciates anything less than that, then that's their,
Yeah. Don't hate me because I'm funny. Anyhow, So I started seeing these orbs of light and started going down to the lake and filming them and started to acquire quite a library. And some of it, I started to put it up on YouTube. That's an interesting story though, because I asked for permission. I was like, I had a Sony Handycam, and it filmed on digital 8 tape, and at full quality, it would do 1 hour to each tape. So I'd bring down 2 hours of tape in case it was a crazy night. Well, this was a crazy night, and I had filled 2 hours worth of footage. And I'm sitting there going, "Oh my god, I wonder if they know I'm filming them, because this is some crazy stuff." And so this voice was like, "Well, ask them. You're here by yourself, don't be shy." So out loud, I said, "Listen, I got some unbelievable footage here. So if you don't want me to share this, you need to do something and make it non-doubtable. Like, do something, show up in a way that you've never shown up before, and I will take notice. And if within the next 5 minutes, show up, do something crazy, and I will never show this footage." And about 5 minutes went by and nothing. I mean, the hours before this was just filled with activity. Now, not even a twinkling of a light out over the lake. So after 5 minutes passed, I'm thinking, well, they're not doing anything. That's what I asked for, to let me know it's okay to. So after about, I don't know, 7 or 8 minutes, I was like, well, great, let's celebrate. And, you know, I'm a big fan of marijuana, just so you know. So I that was my celebration. And right when I lit it, the sky exploded like a mothership came out of nowhere, and it was teeter tottering and it had a row of lights, and it wasn't the weed. People were like, "You sound like you're high, and why should we believe it?" I'm like, "Well, I probably was high, but I'm not getting the camera high. What,
Yeah, well, exactly. And
what does that
people
matter?"
are, yeah,
But
yeah.
anyhow, they made it apparent that they knew I was filming them, and it was okay. So I released it on YouTube. Before I knew it, I started getting millions of views. Your listeners can go to my channel, um, Michael Lee Hill, on YouTube, and you'll see it's over 5 million views right now. That's what brought the History Channel to my door, because they were doing a show on Skywatchers and they wanted to cover the Lake Erie UFOs, and I had like 5 minutes. But as that show went on, I got contacted by them again, and they didn't tell me what happened. All they said was, "Would you be willing to do uh, an update on your segment?" What I didn't know is they interviewed another contactee. His name is Terrell Copeland, and he filmed the exact same things I had the same spiritual message given to him. I guess you'd call it the law of attraction now, or that thoughts create reality. Be mindful of think about what you're thinking about. But the weird thing was he had an unknown blood anomaly, and the best military doctors, because he was a Marine, couldn't figure out what it was, or what was causing it. And I got more info, but I'm trying to just blow through it. Later on, we can get into the details. But the History Channel thought, wouldn't it be weird if this guy in Washington that's a Marine, that him and this other guy, meaning me, had the exact same film and same message of contact and the message given. Wouldn't it be weird if I ended up with that same blood anomaly? So they asked me if I'd be willing to go to Boston to have I didn't know it at the time, but I was going to have my blood work and medical work done by a Harvard professor. His name was David Systrom. They're pretty smart, man, because if they would have told me what I was going there for, I probably wouldn't have went. I am a baby, man, when it comes to needles. And boy, I've got my fill of that recently, though. I guess they're like, you better get over it. But anyhow, when I got there, that's what it was. And they revealed I didn't have normal human blood. And believe me, that sounded just as weird to me as it sounds to the listeners. Like, as a matter of fact, I was like, wait a minute. This isn't a TV show anymore. Like, what are you talking about? I don't have normal human blood. And this professor said, what do you think unknown means? It's kind of not nice about it. He said, if I had to venture a guess, I would think that there's some type of virus at play that is making your brain release these massive amounts of an enzyme called creatine kinase. And
Mm.
just so, while we're on the subject, creatine kinase, normal amounts per liter of blood is 25 parts per liter of blood. It can go up to about 250 to 300 if you've had a heart attack or ripped a muscle or whatever. But 300 tops, 25 is normal. What they found in my blood was 2100 versus 25.
That's
And
absolutely fascinating.
yeah,
Yeah.
what I found out was creatine kinase brings oxygen into the bloodstream to facilitate healing. That's why the brain will up it, like if you've had ripped a muscle or something, because the more creatine kinase that's in the bloodstream brings extra chi or prana or electricity at a cellular level into the blood to facilitate healing. Um,
Can I
so,
interrupt for 1 second, Michael? Is that
yeah,
likened to having a Kundalini activation?
no, I've
Okay.
had that as well, but this is, um,
Well, the
you
reason
know,
I ask that is because I know when a person has Kundalini activation, all their chakras are opened up, right? And they.
yeah, this is 24/7 from what I understand.
Mm.
It's you know what though? They've told me recently that the levels do fluctuate because this is around the same time that I did meet the Anunnaki, and they've told me that if I were to have my creatine kinase levels checked right now, they might be lower because it makes your brain go so multidimensional that
Mhm.
I probably couldn't function well in society in that mode, you know, of just going hyperdimensional.
Yeah.
And instead of synchronicity happening to you, it was like you're living inside of synchronicity, if that works for you, you know. But that's what started it all was the History Channel show, and that led to afterwards. I was invited to go to a like it's called Sirius Rising. At that time, I didn't know what an Anunnaki was. I didn't know they were Syrian, and I just thought I was going camping. But here, it's the Anunnaki was there, and they told me. They said we in your past was known as the Anunnaki, and one of the first things they said, and you in your past was known as Ea Inki, the water bearer. None of that made any sense to me. If you don't know who the Anunnaki are, the water bearer, what the hell does that mean? You know. But they said, but you'll, because I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And so that was my first meeting with the Anunnaki. And, you know, we can get into all this because they started communicating through everything and anyone, including crop circles. But at the same time, I was contacted by the NSA Reverse Engineering and Remote Viewers Division, secret division. And some people might know it as the ACIO. The public name is LPG, uh, the Life Physics Group. You know, so that's what started it all, and then I was pretty much brought into a college Anunnaki class that was being taught by the inner division of this reverse engineering team that had already been working with the Anunnaki and technology transfer programs from the 1950s. And you know what's strange though is the head of that division, his name was A.R. Borden, and he became like a father figure to me. But what had happened was, well, he passed away in 2013, by the way. So, but I worked with him from 2008 to 2013, and he told me, you know, in this course of study, you're going to learn about cosmic harmonious frequencies. And he said, you
Mhm.
see, to create physical matter, it's made of light and sound. And not only do you need specific frequencies, but you need specific frequencies and specific combinations. And I had no idea what he was talking about. But now I do, because, and also when I met the Anunnaki, they said, oh, and by the way, we know you've been filming us over Lake Erie, and this blood anomaly that was revealed on the History Channel is an indicator that you're of our hybrid bloodline known as the Nephilim in your past. And what I didn't know, though, was, I started being guided into these cosmic harmonious frequencies by A.R. Borden and this, remote viewers / reverse engineering division. And simultaneously, I started to have contact with the Anunnaki through crop circles. And they started using crop circles almost like a chalkboard in a classroom, and they're showing me the geometry that is associated with the right frequencies and the sacred geometry that's created from those crop circles. So that's pretty much what started it all. And, I'm glad this is one of my first interviews. It's hard for me to talk about these crop circles without showing you the crop circle. So that's why I was like, hey, would it be possible for me to send you the graphics? Because I had a team.
Absolutely. And we have we have that prepared. So Jennifer, nice. If you're around, if we can get those.
That's the first one. Let me get to where this is. You know what? I'm going to try this light again. Hang on one second.
Okay.
I'll try that. Okay. So what had happened?
Is that the first image you want to start with, Michael?
Yes.
Okay,
but there's a little leeway into this and why it was important to me. Because as I told you, when I met them in 2008, once they told me they were once known in our past as the Anunnaki, that's not what they call themselves, by the way. That's our word for them. We can get into what...
I would like that.
Well, I'll tell you right now, because I spin out a lot and I might not ever get back to it. They said we call their planet Nibiru, which means the planet of crossing. And we call them the Anunnaki, which means those from the heavens who came to Earth. But they call their planet the Sa'amai, and the people of the Sa'amai are known as the Sa'am. And the Sa'am, when translated into Western language, is Sam. So when you're working in these, reverse engineering division, they refer to them as the Sam. I thought that's interesting. Uncle Sam,
Oh, yeah. I'm not surprised at all. But, yeah.
But,
But that is fascinating. I mean, that's interesting. They're very intriguing, for sure.
Yeah, and it's actually like Sa'am-I is like Sa.am.I. It's like ancient Hebrew. Ancient
I was
Sumerian.
just going to say that, and then you said it. Yes. That's exactly what it sounds like. Yes.
It's exactly what it is. Yeah. So, where was I? Oh, this first crop circle. So, I'm a scientist, and music is my first love of science. And I call my music an attempt to communicate thoughts, feelings, and emotions regarding our personal realities that will never be expressed through words. Because what you find out is frequency creates geometry. And if everything's made from certain, we call it sacred geometry, and everything from atoms to galaxies, are adhering to these very specific geometry. Some people might know it as like Metatron's cube, or the seed of life, the flower of life, golden mean, Fibonacci sequences, all that. So I asked them, I said, listen, because when I got home, they told me they were once known as the Anunnaki. In 2008, I tried to do some searches on Anunnaki, and there was barely nothing. I did come across some work of, Zechariah Sitchin, and but very, very little. Now seems to be all over the place, and I do see some kind of effort to paint me in a dark light. It's like, man, well, that's on someone else's backyard.
I definitely want to discuss that before we close this show.
That's Team Bad Cop, Yeah. But what happened was, since these things didn't make any sense to me, and I'm the kind of person, I need proof, What the hell does Ia mean? I know now what it means. We can get into that. Didn't know what Inky was. I sure didn't know what an Anunnaki was. And so I asked them, listen, I'm a student of the crop circle um, subject, and I pay attention. So I can guarantee you, put the name Ia Inky into a crop circle, and I'll take notice, and that'll be my confirmation that you are who you say you are, and that I am who you say I am. And my next thought was, what a silly request. Can you imagine a crop circle with like Inky written in cursive? You know, it's like, what the hell is that going to prove? Looks like a big birthday cake, you know? But then I thought, well, figure it out, man. If you are as smart as you say you are, and, you know, as advanced as you say you are, think of a cool way of communicating the words Inky. That was in the beginning of 2009. And this is the crop circle. They did answer, but it took 2 years. And this showed up in 2011 in Italy. But what I want to show you is all the rest of the crop circles I have. I want your listeners to know these are real crop circles. What I did was have a team behind me, because I'm starting, you know, the Anunnaki told me, if you think crop circles are powerful, wait till you start wearing them. So I've got t-shirts now and jewelry and things that are this whole series of crop circles that was part of my Anunnaki communications. I call them crop communications because crop circles doesn't really fit anymore, does it? They're way beyond circles. But so this is the actual crop circle. The next image, if you want to go to that. Actually, can we go one forward and we'll come back to this because it's very important. Yeah, that's the crop circle we just seen. But I had a team that they said, well, tell us what crop circles that you want us to extract the information and the graphic so then you can work with it. And this is the first one that I had them do because it was so important to me, you know, that previous one. But what I want to show you is, see how the middle is a 7-pointed star?
Mhm.
Very important, we'll get to, but look at the top of that star, and at the top of it, see that little row of like circle, circle, open, filled, open, filled. You see what I'm saying? At the very outside of the crop circle.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
That goes around, and you can tell, look at what would be, I don't know, about the 4 or 5 o'clock position. And
Mhm.
look at, there's one little circle on the outside, and it's the only one that has a circle. That shows you an ASCII binary code when to start decoding the binary. What you find out is all of that is ASCII binary code going around that 7-pointed crop image.
Well,
And go ahead.
so real quickly, so you taught me that before when we did our first. You said to put your finger on that
Mm-hmm.
and go around.
Yep.
Do you remember telling me that?
No, my brain don't work real good.
Okay, well,
I'm
like
so
you told me
focused
to put
into the
my
moment.
finger on what you exactly just said about that
Right on.
open circle on the outside, and you said to run my finger around it, and that would
Mhm.
activate it
Yes.
to connect for me to connect to. Yeah.
Because
So.
beyond that, you know, first of all, what you will find out is when you just decode that, all of those lines of circle dot, you know, they're all different. And when you decode them, it decodes to Ia space Inky. So
Mhm.
obviously, this became very important to me because they did encode the name Ia Inky into a crop circle. But I probably shared with you as well, you know, in the black part of that uh, 7-pointed star image. See where it looks like star constellations?
Yeah.
There's 3 in that first one. And then you go down, was it 3 more? And then 4, 4, 4, 4, 5. That's a 7-digit number. And when you Google it, you'll find out it's a gene in our human DNA that is for a gene called universal stress protein. And it deals with how the human body uh, handles outside stressors, whether it's increased solar activity, which we're going through right now,
Oh, big
or
time.
viruses, which is interesting.
Mhm.
The more you have the universal stress protein being released into the body, the better your body handles outside stressors. So this information led to a science that now we'll get into, but it's been confirmed by NASA, and it revitalizes dead municipal tap water back into holy water. And I have the NASA science to show exactly what I'm talking about. But the deal that I need to share though is when I asked them to encode the name Ia Inky and do it in a cool way, I also got cocky and I said, and while you're at it, encode it with something only I would be able to decode. So in between this time period of early 2009 and 2011, when this crop circle showed up, I started being guided into what a subject called cymatics, which is a new science of making frequency visible for the first time. And I had tracked down all the notes of the musical scale because I'm a musician at heart, and that's my first love. So I tracked down every note of the musical scale, but tuned properly and the proper cymatic image. And, I create these crystal discs. And matter of fact, that inky holographic disc that you have, Ida, that's this image.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
Yes. That's what I was showing people. This
that's
is
like my.
gorgeous. People.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, they're. I'm very proud of them. They
I
pack a
love it.
lot of. I tell people they're very powerful energy tools, or it's a nice paperweight. Do with it whatever you want. But
Mm-mm.
I think that what it's
I put
saying.
I put my glass of water on it. I don't do it as much. When I first got it, I did a lot more.
Mhm.
I've got a lot of tools. I mean, I've got pyramids and
Well, I'll tell you
rings
what,
and
man. I think that
yeah.
this crop circle has shown you what this technology will do, and it unlocks parts of our DNA that makes us more prepared to handle this transformation that we're all going through. So when you do put your water on this, it's going to bring extra energy. And I asked the NASA biophysicist, I said, wait a minute, because the photography showed municipal tap water from California. It's almost dead. And it's because we put chlorine, fluoride, send it down miles of pipes but once they took that same water and put it on one of my energy discs, it went
Mm.
through the roof. It looks like a supernova went off in in the droplet of water. So I said, "Wait a minute, isn't that some form of unlimited free energy? Because if there's no energy, but now there's energy, where's that extra energy coming from?" And I asked her. I said, "Is it coming from our solar system, our planets, our tectonic plates, our electromagnetic fields, our sun?" And she said, "No." She said, "It's coming from another dimension." So, first of all, I never had to ask myself, what's it mean to be drinking water that has energy in it from another dimension? I think that energy comes in and it has extra new coding to, when you drink it, that's all you have to do. And, they found
Do
out,
we know what dimension it's coming from? Do you
no,
know?
no. Matter of fact, I can't wrap my head around it because the answer I got was another dimension isn't like the fourth compared to the third. It's like, another dimension is something other than up, down, left, right, you know.
So it's out of our time space.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
Fascinating. I did.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I have gone over this material before in our first. Not in this. I mean, I remember, but you didn't mention. I don't recall you saying this because I pay attention to you, Michael. If you haven't noticed,
Mhm.
um,
Right
yeah,
on. Well, that's why
yeah,
it's nice to have these graphics, because for the
yeah.
first time, and what's really interesting with
Interesting.
this,
Very, very nice. So I'm going to start doing it again. I
yeah,
mean,
you know
I
what
just
she
don't
told
want to
me
mess
too.
it up. I keep thinking if I don't want water getting in it and messing it up, but I don't know.
Ah,
I love it.
just what I can recommend is first of all, put the glass under the faucet before you turn it on, because you truly don't want to get the disc wet. It might not hurt it, but it's not great for it. So I make sure the glass is, filled up with water. I fill it up 3/4 of the way, and then I turn off the faucet, and then I put it on the disc carefully. And
Yeah.
You
But
know, she,
I'm thinking that if a cloth or something is put on it before you put the glass, it will still receive the
I
energy.
wouldn't. I would, first of all, I'd
No,
use glass that has no printing on it because that's programming. Have clear glass and nothing
that's what I
between.
do. Clear glass. I
Yeah,
don't drink out of it. Yeah,
I,
all my glasses are that way.
right on.
I get it. Well, except my
Um,
coffee cups. But anyways, yeah. So
yeah.
go ahead.
So
Yeah.
in that 2 years of time, when getting into cymatics, when this Ia Inky crop circle came through, I made one of my energy discs out of this image. And then the next thing I did was I had all of the material to make a 7 musical note collection of, the cymatic image energy discs of the musical scale, but tuned properly. So I made 6 discs. I went to make the 7th disc, and that frequency, whatever it was, I didn't know at the time, was creating a perfect 7 pointed star. I should have put that image because I have the cymatic image of it.
I think. Oh, I don't know if it's.
I don't think I included it.
Okay.
But the point was, I'm looking at it and I'm going, why does this look so familiar to me? And it wasn't, 2 and 2 wasn't clicking. I'm like, why does this look so familiar? I didn't realize it's this 7 pointed star from this crop circle that I just made. So I sat there and looked at it for like 10 minutes and just nothing came. This voice was like, just let it go. It'll come. So I just let it go. And I looked to my right and I seen the crop circle, I seen the 7 pointed star. And then I looked and it was the actual A432 frequency. Well, 4 octaves below. So then all of a sudden I realized that the 7 pointed star is related to the 432 hertz frequency. They're 2 different ways of expressing the exact same science. But then what I want to show you is, can you go back one image? Okay, this showed up in the exact same field as the Ia Inky crop circle, and this was so this is the only one that goes backwards in time because this one showed up in 2010, and that's actually, see those circles with all the dots, you know. Um, and it's interesting because if you notice, this isn't 7 petaled. This is the 6 petaled version of, which makes the Merkaba or the Star of David shape, the seed of life that we all know of. But if you decode the outside dots, that's ASCII binary code as well. And it decodes to E equals MC squared. So instantly I was like, well, what does E equals MC squared have to do with the 432 subject? And they've communicated some pretty on the nose science. And they said, now because I do study quantum physics and whatnot, that we know now everything is both particle and wave simultaneously. So the E equals MC squared is only the particle part of the equation. It's right there, M equals mass. E equals energy, M equals mass, and then C is the speed of light squared. And all of our science we know of from Einstein on, that brought through this equation is what our world is built from right now. But I'm thinking, well, why are they communicating E equals MC squared? And you can go forward now again to the next one, which is the 432, 7 pointed star. And they told me, well, 432 frequency when squared, meaning 432 times 432 is C in the E equals MC squared equation. It's the only frequencies that plug into the E equals MC squared equation, meaning 432 times 432 becomes the speed of light. And even just get out your calculator, it's within 1% accuracy. So the only frequencies ever that will plug into E equals MC squared are 432 base frequencies. So putting it backwards, it would be 432 times 432 becomes the speed of light times the speed of light, times mass equals energy. And I think that's really what this is tapping into with the increase of energy, even from another dimension. But I think its ability to restructure and revitalize dead water, even though that's massively important. Wait till the world sees what happens when you do agriculture from this water. It's like natural
Well,
GMO.
yes, that and so much more. I mean, the
Yeah.
transformation that will, the healing that will take place in our bodies if we
Yeah.
all were to really utilize and use the what you're offering to us here. I mean, I'm definitely going to start doing it again because
Right
I'm
on.
ready. I'm so ready for
So that brings
Um,
us up to my light went off again. I don't know what the hell's going on. Maybe it's not plugged
okay,
in.
can I just tell you something real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Not to okay, so my Facebook keeps logging out on me.
Hmm.
Tonight, there's been all kinds of anomalies going on with electronics and so forth, and I'm not going to go down the list of them, but there's been a lot going on, and I'm wondering, Facebook keeps logging me out, and it's like, okay, I don't believe. I mean, is there if I want it? Well, now I'm back in again, but because I like to look to see if people are asking questions or
Mm-hmm.
so if you ever see me looking down, it's not me, not because I'm listening to everything you're saying, but I want to see if people are engaging and hoping, and I invite everybody to engage. And if you have any questions for Michael, I will do my best to, get them answered for you. But it's just been an off night, but that's okay. We're still doing what we're doing, right, Michael?
Yeah, I'm still
So
having fun,
yeah,
and
yeah,
actually,
that's
this is a tough line of info to try to communicate. And I think actually we're doing good. So
yeah.
hallelujah. But so this, the first two crop circles communicated the relationship of E equals MC squared to the cosmic harmonious frequency component of 432 hertz. And that, I mean, just gets simple that 432 hertz is the only frequency that is truly a harmonic of light. And everything is made of light, every planet, you and I, everything. So it's massively important showing the two things, but it's interesting because from this point forward, everything is 7-pointed star, and the end of this communication resulted in them revealing a brand new seed of life that is a 7-petaled lotus or a 7-petaled seed of life. Where, as I showed you on the previous one, it's 6-petaled, and but we'll get into that.
Well,
Let's go.
yeah, can we well quickly? I mean, while I remember, so
Mhm.
what's the difference between the six and the seven petal star? What is the difference, Michael?
One's
For those that
closed
are
and one's
listening,
open. Isn't that interesting? Because they've told me that this reality that we're in, it's not a prison, but it is a cocoon. This is where we learn to strengthen our wings and become butterflies. But it's closed off. And Metatron's cube, it's a cube, and all of physical reality adheres through that 6-petaled geometry into our third dimension. But the 7-petaled, all these crop circles, by the way, this gets really, it's hard for me to communicate it really. But first of all, every single crop circle I'm going to show you is 7-petaled now. And it's the next form of picture if the third dimensional seed of life that is 6-petaled, the Merkaba shape. Uh, it's it's for the human caterpillar. It's the cocoon phase. But the 7-petal, which we'll get to, I have the image. It's actually maybe I should just stop and when we get to the image because it's really fascinating. It's
Michael, I
actually
don't know if we're going to be able to get through all of this in one show. We might have to have you back next week if you're willing. I mean, and do a part two because I
right on.
know that these first off, I know your passion and your earnest intention to want to help and to
Mhm.
bring this information forward for humanity so that we can start utilizing the gifts that we are being gifted, which are coming through you, through your connection with the Anunnaki or the Sams,
Mhm.
that we start using these sacred geometry and these crop circles and the different um, binary codes, right? Binary
Yes.
codes, is that how you
Hmm.
say it?
Hmm.
Because I'm not a scientist. Now, you want to talk about heart space and going into a place of love and compassion, I'll be glad to do that. Now, you could stick with the science and I'll stick with the heart. Not
Right
that you
on.
don't have a heart, we know you do, but yeah, because I am definitely not, but intuitively, energetically, I definitely pick it up. Like I know it to be a true, the true, or a real happening and um an important tool for all of us if we really want to get serious about our own transformation and healing our body and
Yeah,
cleaning
because
up the planet and cleaning the water. Yeah.
it's a key too for actually working with energy in the most big way. And I can tell you one thing, like we'll get into this a little bit further, but see that shape that's like eh, uh, the black, almost pyramidal shapes that have the uh, like star looking constellations in them. It
Hmm.
that makes a seven petaled image. And when you look into Gnostic Christianity, that's known as the seal of the seven archangels. And so it was really
Okay, wait a minute.
interesting.
Are you talking which what like say which okay. Where are you
Um,
referring to?
the outside black area,
So
that
okay, here.
mhm.
And wait, this is confusing me. Here? I
I
can't
can't
point at
see
the
your
but yeah.
image, but you know
Okay,
what?
say
It's
it
like,
again.
remember, like that circle that's on the outside edge that tells you where to start decoding? That's
Yes.
right next to one of the black pyramid, shapes.
Okay, I
So
see what you're saying now. Okay, I got
yeah,
it.
just the
So
black
the
area.
7, I get it now. So you're
Yep.
saying that's a Gnostic what? Say that again.
Symbol. It's a
Okay.
symbol. Your listeners can just type in seal of the seven archangels.
Mhm.
And the reason this is important, which we'll get into this because it's massively important with working with energy, even. But I had asked them to encode the name Ia Inki into each one. So again, the first two is showing the relationship of E equals MC squared, and the 432 subject. So let's go to the next one. This is,
That's gorgeous. I
isn't
love
it
that.
beautiful? Yeah.
Yes.
And what you find out is they encoded Inky into every crop circle in a new way. See that eclipse, moon, crescent
Right.
symbol behind the seven pointed star? If you
Yes.
go back to Sumer, in every depiction of Inky, he has that symbol above his shoulder.
I
And
didn't know that.
yeah,
So is that like what the Muslims, the Islamic or religion has um well, you've seen the symbol for the Islamic, they have the moon and God. I'm not doing too well with this. Sorry about that.
it's all good. I would have to see it. I do know I've seen that crescent symbol on some flags, and probably where
Yeah,
it
the
comes
flag.
from. But it's Ia Inki's. And this is
Oh,
interesting too, but people need to know that those aren't names. Ia actually means grandfather in Native American language, like the oldest Native American First Nation language. The word for grandfather is Ia. And Inky is not a name, it's a title. It means earth ambassador, or N means Lord or ambassador, and Kai
mhm.
means earth. So in Inky, put into our Western culture would be Earth Ambassador. Very interesting too, because Elon Musk has taken my work to the moon, and they gave me the official title of Earth Ambassador. I'm like,
That's super fascinating and
right?
awesome. And people can, people, I mean, I don't, I'm neutral when it comes to Elon Musk. I don't know enough about the man to make any kind of comment, any educated or otherwise. So, but
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm thankful he's taking this work to the moon.
Well, I think that's pretty awesome. So,
And
yeah.
I know a lot of people think
What is what is his purpose in doing that? I'm just curious.
it's a time capsule library of all of the world's accumulated wisdom put into using quantum computing and um, like nanotechnology. It's been put into a crystal, and the point is to have like Alexander's library or whatever, Alexandria, where if something happens to the Earth, it will survive because it's on the moon. But not only that, it's going into underground places. But it's such a comprehensive library, and all you need to access the data from this crystal is a good microscope. And so when you crack this thing open, and mind you, it's all information, like everything that's ever been invented with an iPhone or whatever, all the schematics are in it, all the technical data of how to make it, everything we know, and it's in every language known to the planet, and it's pretty dang impressive.
So wait a minute. So so I'm clear, and everybody else is clear that it's
Mhm.
either watching now or will be watching. So this is a disc that you created.
It's not. I didn't create it. It's a quartz crystal disk that Elon Musk's people are encoding with this information.
Okay, but
And
how is Ia Inky? How are you connected to that?
because here's what happened is I got contacted through someone through NASA that they know that this technology, when I asked the biophysicist, where's this extra energy coming from? She said, we know it's creating a hole, it's creating a portal or a wormhole through the fabric of our space time that's bringing in extra energy, is photonic light energy from another dimension. So NASA already knows that, they're kind of freaked out over this because these discs, they don't have wires running to them. There's no battery in it. Yet it's communicating some type of information or frequency that will restructure, revitalize
That's
dead
freaking
water.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who would have
yeah,
thunk
yeah.
it, right? I gotta say though, it was really weird for me because once, it was Richard Hoagland that arranged for NASA to look into my work. If people don't know who Richard Hoagland was, he was NASA's science advisor through all
Hmm.
the Apollo missions, and so he contacted me and said, "We know your story sounds batshit crazy, but the numbers you're bringing to the table, NASA's been looking into for a very long time, and it just so happens your numbers are right on the money." And so he said, I'd like to arrange for NASA to look into your work. So that went to NASA. I sent them, one of my 432 discs. And it was like a month and a half before I got the results back. And I got to tell you, I don't know if it's just human nature, but to doubt yourself, like, man, don't count your chickens before they hatch. Maybe they'll find nothing. This voice inside is going, then you've learned nothing. If you think this is all coincidence. Sure enough, they found what, and I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. I think really it's bringing extra photonic light energy that's giving you it's like the energy before it's become things. It's giving you more paint to paint your picture. So, but as you can see, it's another 7-pointed star. So I knew this was related to the Ia Inky crop circle. But then, I had to look into, I know that this crescent moon eclipse symbol is very important. Then I found out it's another way of encoding Inky. So this was the next in the communication. And let's go on to the next one.
She might have stepped away, Jennifer.
No
She
worries.
probably stepped away. Yeah.
Um,
She'll yeah, there it
ah,
goes. There you go.
Perfect. This is the next one of the sequence that came through. And again,
Well, they're all beautiful. I mean,
aren't
wow,
they
all these
something?
symbols yeah. Yeah.
Well, this one is actually very important because it actually tells the actual accurate entry date into the age of Aquarius. out of the age of Pisces. And it wasn't 2012. I know that's a popular misconception. But
Yeah.
what I want to show you, see those, I'm trying to figure out, like the symbol going around in a circle all the way around the outside is
Yes.
that's called a Baktun, which is a Mayan calendar long count.
Right.
And there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 of those Mayan calendar Baktun. And then you find
Mhm.
out each Baktun contains 144,000 days. It's an interesting number,
Wow.
right? So at that time, I had already figured out that 2012 couldn't have been the end of the Mayan calendar, because I found out that the Anunnaki have given us the idea of everything that we have of culture came out of Sumer, and laws, governance, language,
For
music,
sure. Yes.
timekeeping. Well, look at how many seconds is in 12 hours, because they've given us this idea to multiply and divide whole units by 12, whether it's 12 inches in a foot, 12 hours in a day, the 12 apostles, 12, 12, 12. It just keeps going on. But when all
Yeah.
432 based math and physics
And guess
resolve
what? I'm
to,
the 12th child, by the way.
what's that?
I'm the 12th child.
Ah, perfect.
And my mother's name was Harriet, which means mother. And my
Perfect.
middle name is Isa. And I could keep going. It would blow your mind when I break these things down to you. But go ahead, because one day we'll have that conversation, Michael.
Well, I
Please,
think
yes,
we've
I love
already,
this.
because one thing I
Yeah,
can tell you is, we've spoken off camera,
yeah.
so to
It's
speak, and
exciting. I mean,
you
yeah,
really, really have the same mannerisms and some of vocalizations of my biological mother, and we'll just leave it at that.
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
but so 432. If you got your middle A note on a piano tuned properly to 432 hertz, our musical standard for today is uh, set to 440. And as it turns out, it's one of the most disharmonious frequencies they could have chosen. And but getting back to, if you got it tuned properly, your middle A note on a piano would be 432. And then to get to the lower octave, it's really simple math. You just divide by 2 to get the proper hertz. It's called hertz is a measurement of sound frequency that we use in our real world. So 432 divided by 2 is 216. That would be the accurate. So then 216 divided by 2 is 108. 108 is a very interesting number because of Tibetan monks having 108 prayer beads on their prayer bracelets,
For sure.
and
Yes.
they will recite mantras and chants 108 times. And they have their Tibetan singing bowls, the crown chakra bowl, which is
Yeah.
about the size of a cereal bowl. They're tuned to 432 perfectly. So what does the monks know, right? But the point of all
Yes,
this
you do.
is,
But I want to, I'm very curious. Well, when you're done with this, but I want to get back to where you said that 2012, because I know we touched on it in our last
well, that's actually
show,
where
but
we're going to
yeah,
get to, because
okay,
the lower octave of 108 is 54 and then 27. And 27 hertz, by the way, is 4 octaves below 432, right? That's what creates the perfect 7-pointed star in a cymatic scientific device. But what happens is every one of those frequencies resolves to 9, whether it's 4 plus 3 plus 2 is 9.
uh-huh.
It's lower octave 216, 2 plus 1 plus 6 is 9. Lower octave 108, 1 plus 8 is 9. 54, 9. 27, 9. So you start to realize and I learned from NASA, they said only when a frequency resolves to 9 do they see this increase of photonic light energy, which is interesting. But so right away, and what I was going to get into is look at how many seconds is in 12 hours. It's 43,200 or 432. It's like they've been drip feeding us, and so many people want to throw the Anunnaki under the proverbial bus, say they're the ones that are behind the enslavement of mankind. I'm like, it looks like actually they've been drip feeding us for a long time and waiting for us to evolve to the
So
point that we
can
can.
we speak to that a little bit? And I know that you want to, I think I mean, everything that you're sharing with us, I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah.
But I do want to speak to some of this, Michael, because I think it's important.
Well, let me I'm about 2 minutes from having this
Okay.
part wrapped up,
Okay.
because I will, if I will spin out.
Okay.
But so timekeeping that we know of is based on 432. It's just fact, scientific fact. All 432 based science and physics resolves to 9, those frequencies. So I'm actually watching the movie 2012, you know what I mean? And I was actually having cellular memory breakdown. Like it was causing me to have traumatic stress syndrome, because whoever made that movie knows what a pole shift is and everything that happens with volcanoes going off early and everything. And all of a sudden, this thought came to me: wait a minute, it can't be 2012, because it's 2012 resolves to a 5. It can't be the end of their calendar. So I just went forward. What's the next year that would resolve to 9? It was 2016. So what I wanted now, getting back to this crop circle, it confirmed this for me, because those Mayan Baktun symbols going around, people thought that the end of the Mayan calendar was doomsday because there was no 14th Baktun. Wait a minute. 13, actually. The deal is, I want to get my numbers.
Yeah, it is
right.
13. That's right.
Um,
I didn't count them when you counted them because I just figured you were, but you're right. It is 13.
no, check on
13
everything I
and,
say.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
but
Yeah, I love
what happened is there was no 13th Baktun in the Mayan calendar, because it's truly the first Baktun of the age of Aquarius. It wasn't the end of everything, it was the start of the next precessional cycle. And so it's really easy math. Each one of these Baktuns is 144,000 days long. And like I said, you can look into Baktun, Baktun, I believe is the.
Yeah, I saw you were with Apollo. You did a show with her about,
Mhm.
and that's why, yeah, I watched it and heard you guys were discussing this. And I remember, yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
So it's real
some of it.
simple.
Yeah.
144,000 times. Again, I don't know why I'm pulling up like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,
There's 13.
14.
No, you
Yeah.
got 4,
1, 2,
4,
3, 4,
4.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Oh my God, you're getting me confused,
It
Michael.
is 14, but the Mayan calendar ends on the 13th Baktun. There was no 14th. And that is
It
because
is 14.
it is 14.
You had me thinking 13, and I counted 13, and
Yeah, it is
now I'm gonna
14.
count again. 12. Yep, because there's 4 and then 4 and 4, 12, and then 13, 14. You are
Yep.
absolutely correct, sir. Yes.
So it's real simple math. If each one of these symbols represents 144,000 days, well, what's 144,000 times 14? It ends up it's 201600000000. So 2016 is the.
I have something to speak to that. That's why I was
Mhm.
asking you to go back to that. But so
Well,
real
that's
well,
actually
go
it.
ahead.
This was and this also is pointing back to Inky, because Inky was known as Poseidon, or Aquarius, the man holding the bucket of water. So this is actually, you could call the age of Aquarius the age of Inky, because the Aquarius guy holding the bucket of water, Inky back in Sumer, was always depicted with either water erupting from his shoulders with fish, or he was carrying pitchers or buckets of water, denoting he was a water bearer. He was known as the water bearer. And so again, Ea Inky, they put right into the crop circle. The next one was the eclipse symbol of Ea back from Sumer. Now they're showing you the accurate entry date of the age of Aquarius, which might as well call it the age of Inky.
So let me, okay, so that's interesting. I was born August 7th, so 8/7, and I was born on the day I was born, it was a full moon in Aquarius. and my rising is in Aquarius, and I'm a Leo sun. I think that's pretty fascinating, and I definitely appreciate, not that I think we have free will, and we can, while we can learn a lot about ourselves through astrology and human design and other modalities or different scientific designs to be able to learn more about our makeup and who we are, what we be. We always have the opportunity to, go with freestanding and being a co-creator and creating with the universe, regardless of all that. But I definitely think it's fascinating because I consider myself very much a humanitarian, and I appreciate people and love people very deeply and want good things for everyone. So, but you mentioned 2016, and I know that I was taken in 2014. And when I was brought back, I kept signing everything 2016, but it was only 2014. And I was concerned because it was during the time that I got downloads of the soul I behold and my DNA and who I was connected to. And next thing you know, I had military jumping out, taking pictures of me from the building next door to me, and my house getting broke into, and Jen and the whole bit. I've told you all of this about this. And I am going to set up a presentation to share with people. So I am one of the women that hold the Magdalene DNA. And I've shared that, and I'm pretty open about that. But there's only one Eve on the planet, and I'll just say that. And when I say Eve, that means the person that was connected to create these Homo sapien bodies who offered up her DNA, which was the Pleiadian DNA, which goes even further back. So if we appreciate, just check this out for a second, Michael, because you just got my mind going in a couple different directions. So like you, I do that. So if we appreciate the Messianic, the father becomes the son becomes the child, and whatever, it gets passed down. It's like the son becomes the father becomes the son, and it just keeps doing that over and over and over again throughout life, right? Our parents are like our gods to us, right? Our mom and dad, they raise us. Yes. So I know that there was a woman, Enki, or Enlil, correct, Anu, which means king, right? In Sumerian language, Anu means king. It's not a name, it's a title, right?
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah. He's here in Human Meat as well.
Enki's mother was a Pleiadian queen, and her name was Aida.
Imagine that, huh?
Yes, imagine that. And she was a concubine. She was a lover. She was not, he had already had a wife, but to introduce the human, if we want to use human, Pleiadian, so Lyra and Pleiades held the highest human DNA. Is that correct?
Yes. But, that, first of all, that story is very hard to find, of Anu's relationship with the Pleiadian queen. But what I understand is before the Anunnaki genetically engineered, the DNA to create Homo sapien, that this unmodified Homo sapien was a Pleiadian soul carrier. And just because, a lot of people say that we were downgraded, and that's not what I understand. And this isn't derogatory, because every species on this planet goes through evolution and goes from being single cell to, it takes a very long time, but to get to being aware. And but from what I understand, pre being modified by the Anunnaki, we were drinking, us humans at that phase of our evolution, were drinking on all fours and, grazing on all fours and drinking from ditches like a chimpanzee. And that it doesn't mean we weren't going to become Elohim or wingmakers in the future. And I can see the Pleiadian queen being very interested in this experiment to accelerate human conscious evolution by pretty much. We can get into that, but
Yeah, so let me just respond to that. Respond to what you just said. So,
mhm.
first off, or so you're suggesting that we were, you said on all fours.
Mhm.
So initially, we started more closer to an animal state of being before we became Homo sapiens. I'm confused what you're
Yes,
saying,
yes.
Michael.
I'm saying that they took a primate that was indigenous on this planet and infused their own DNA and came up with Insumer, because really no one knows why did these earthlings come out in Sumer with full functioning culture right out of the gate? And it's truly, I mean, there's a reason behind it. It gets a little, a lot to
So so
get
so
into.
so so you would so you're suggesting that, because I want to make sure that I'm hearing you clear, because this
Mhm.
I'm going to sit with this tonight and process some of it and see if I can pull in some information. But
Right
so
on.
you're saying, yeah. So you're saying that, well, there were other beings from different star systems, right? I mean, if you talk about the Anunnaki being those from the heavens
Mhm.
who came, right? Isn't that what you said earlier?
Yeah.
Yes. And so that's when the start of having okay, so where did oh, you just got my mind going big time, because I'm starting to get info. Okay, so where did it happen? Where, because if you read in the Sumerian text where it talks about Enki and the first daughter, you see in this picture, it's a sketch of a little girl sitting on her dad's lap on a man's, you know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
Uh,
I do.
Sasha Lessons uses this depiction. I've seen it in some of his lectures, and with the little girl, and she's got a pigtail in her hair. And she spoke of it saying that she's very outgoing and a happy child. And do you know what I'm talking about? The story? I can't think.
No, actually,
Okay,
I'm friends
well,
with Sasha Lesson, but that there's a lot to the
there's a
story
story.
that I don't
Yeah,
know. Um,
I have the book. I have a book of Inanna over there too. There, it's interesting, but okay, I don't know enough to really speak to it. I know it intuitively, but I can't get it to come out of my mouth where it's I can articulate it well. But long story short, my question is: so you said that these different beings from different star systems came and created hybrids.
I'm not saying other race. I'm saying it was the Anunnaki specifically. That there's this universe is teeming with life, but there's only one race that is intertwined in human evolution from the get go, and they're the creators that made the pyramids and the Sumerian
And you're
temples.
referring to
Yeah,
them as the Anunnaki,
yeah,
but the Anunnaki aren't just, because some people think like we can talk about Dracos or reptilians,
they're not
Arcturians,
Anunnaki.
Illyrians, Pleiadians.
There's two families that run through the Anunnaki family tree, and that's Syrian and Pleiadian, and that's it. You know, so if you
I didn't
see,
know that, and I'm very pleased to hear that,
yeah,
because, well, the reason is because so many people think that the Dracos are involved in,
yeah, they're not.
uh, they're not part of the Anunnaki. That's what you're saying.
Right, right. It's Syrian and Pleiadian, and only Pleiadian on Inky's side because of the Queen and Anu having this relationship and their firstborn. So if you think about it, Inky was the first hybrid that was a Syrian Pleiadian hybrid within the family tree. And
Mhm.
this is interesting too because when I met the Anunnaki in 2008, first of all, they told me their whole succession of kingship was based on the precessional cycle. And I didn't even know what the precessional cycle was at that time. And they said the second we entered the age of Aquarius, which is why this crop circle is so important, the second we entered the age of Aquarius, this experiment to accelerate human conscious evolution by making us experience our own mental energy unbiasedly. If you put out love, you'll get that back tenfold. But if you put out fear, you're going to experience your own mental baggage in a much accelerated fashion as well. And
Yes.
that they said the age of Pisces was the time period of this intelligence accelerator technology, is what they called it, and it's being broadcast from the moon. I know this is going in the deep end, but this is making all of humanity experience their own mental energy in an accelerated fashion. At the second they told me when we entered the age of Aquarius, that experiment was over. And either we would have learned better and proven it, or we would get a big redo. And this time cycles that we're talking about, if we didn't make it this time, it would have been back to a whole other cycle of reincarnating into this cycle, but starting off at lower life form again and going through the whole cycle. They said
Wow.
that the second we enter the age of Aquarius, we would either get a pass or a fail, and we've got a pass because we're still talking right now. And
That's right.
so yeah, I think it explains too, because why was there a Pleiadian queen having an affair with the Anunnaki king? And I see it very clearly that she was very interested in what was going to happen with her children. The Pleiadian soul carrier that was the Homo sapien. And they told me what happened was, first of all, the Pleiadians have what is called future sight. And using their future sight, they've seen that there wasn't enough time before the end of this cycle, that was 2016, for humanity to purge its shadow. There's only one way. They understand thoughts have an electromagnetic reality, energy, and energy can't be created or destroyed. It needs to be transmuted. So how do you transmute it?
You are really, I mean, bigger than our last time. And I don't mean to interrupt you, Michael, but you are really activating some things in me right now. That's pretty mind blowing.
Well, I like to say a song that goes unheard is just a waste of time. So thank you for listening.
I am listening. I always listen to you. I obviously have I feel, and I can't wait to meet your beloved Sarah. I know that she's a private person and I respect that. I reached out to her, by the way, asking her to take you and Sarah for dinner one day, and she didn't respond. Yeah.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Patience is a virtue.
I get it. And I'm so fine with it. I don't want to, of course I'm eager because I'm excited and
we're actually excited too. She loves you, and the timing just needs to be right and have it just flow.
I absolutely get it. Absolutely. Yeah. But I think it's going to be a super magical moment when it happens. So, but back to what you were just saying about having to be able to transmute our shadow. Mm-hmm. Because when I had my Kundalini activation and all my gifts were online, I mean, I was using telepathy, everything I was saying was manifesting. I would walk into rooms and people, I could feel that they were embellishing in my energy field because it was such a good feeling. And of course I felt good too, but I didn't fully understand what was going on. I mean, I had orbs in my apartment and all kinds of cool stuff, but I wasn't ready. I hadn't done shadow work and clearing my karma and everything that needed to be done in order for me to appreciate that state of being. Yeah. I was not ready. It was a spontaneous Kundalini activation, and I was not prepared, but it also was time for me to go into my mission. And I won't get into that.
That's the thing is, no one's asked the question, well, if this energy of mental energy needs to be transmuted, because energy can't be created or destroyed. How do you transmute lower frequency, fear-based thought forms? Well, you live it. It will come up in your own
and I do what you always taught me, and that was if you have a thought form you don't like, ask for something better.
What else is available?
Yeah, is there something else available? I do it all the time, and
it will break you from because if you don't. What I've learned from the Anunnaki is there is a mass consciousness, and we're a part of it. We're sovereign and we're integral. The sovereign integral is the next phase of human evolution. But how?
I love that.
Yeah, they said it's a coded word, because
it just hit me. I love that, Michael. That's lovely.
Right on.
Yes, and, sovereign integral. I'm gonna start. Yeah.
It's actually, so all of this, the Anunnaki, the Pleiadian side, are known as the Wingmakers. And if you go to wingmakers.com, you'll see that there was a cultural library that was left on this planet of philosophy, music, art, and it's the real deal. And
So, Michael, there was somebody mentioned and saying that Mary Magdalene, her greater purpose was to bear a hybrid, and people don't know that their names are Azula and Ishtan, not Jesus and Mary. Um, and well, we're talking about Azula, which would be AKA Anu, the king, or Enlil. I know I just kind of
no, Anu is not Enlil. Anu had two children. It was Enlil and Enki. Enki came
right.
first, but he was half blood. So when that relationship with the Pleiadian queen ended, and Anu took on a Anunnaki wife and had another son, that was Enlil or Yahweh.
Right. Okay.
And
Right.
yeah, because you know, as I said, I've met Enlil now. It was here in form, and this isn't my opinion. It was Chief Golden Light Eagle, and he's a prominent Native American Indian. He's been on Ancient Aliens many times, and his work is in the Smithsonian. And he took me under the wing of the Native American First Nation Star Knowledge family and conferences. And so Spirit led me to the information that I'm dealing with Enlil, Yahweh. Yahweh isn't a name either, it's a title. And it's YHYW. Wait, YHYW. Yeah, because there's another, it's incorrect because those are tones of creation. They're musical notes. And even if what's it called? You might not know, but the name of Yahweh in ancient Hebrew is called
I don't know. Maybe if you said it, I might know it, but
it's like
no, I don't know.
Terra Namakan or something like that.
Okay,
Man,
well,
that's not it.
you know
But
how it, yeah.
the
And the
point of
Bible
that
learns.
is some people might know it. And when you look at the actual ancient Hebrew, the first and third letters are the same, meaning Y, Y, H, Y, W. And I actually learned through the NSA remote viewers of the actual frequencies that those relate to. And it's na, 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 na. See how the first and third are the same note? Na, 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 na. And so, anyhow, all this information, because Chief Golden Light Eagle had asked me to come to a Native American Indian Sundance, is what they're called. And during this, there's some things of ancient cultures who still to this day practice blood sacrifice ceremonies. And some of that was happening here, and I refused to participate. And that's when the whole veil dropped. He said, Michael, Spirit's so glad that you refused, because Spirit looks at anyone who participates in these blood sacrifice ceremonies as prostitutes. And he said, Michael, I work with the seven lords of light and the seven lords of darkness, and I'm the only one who sits in the middle of these two councils of light and dark. And I'm the only one who holds a seat on both sides. And so I thought, well, that's interesting. It's not my bag. I didn't really even know what he's saying. But afterwards, I found out that to the Cherokee and the Iroquois, they knew of a chief Yahweh long before the Bible. And they said that this chief Yahweh was the chief that sat in between these two councils of war and peace chiefs. And he's the only one who held a seat on both sides of the councils, both light and dark. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is exactly what Chief Golden Light Eagle told me he was. So the next time we were together and we were in the same vehicle, like I said, man, I just don't go if something comes in my head. I want proof. I'm a scientist. And so I looked him in the eye. I said, listen, Spirit's led me to understand that you are Enlil, Yahweh, my brother. And he said, yes, I've done some pretty messed up things, but this isn't the first time we met. He said, We met before, obviously, another past lifetime, and it wasn't pleasant. And he said, I realize now, though, you were only showing me my own darkness. And he said, but I don't go by, he said, no one knows who Enlil or Yahweh is anymore, anyhow, so I just go by Chief. So the reason I'm telling you this is that was years ago, and up until 21 is when he dropped his robe. You know, we were friends in many ceremonies and brought him into, we stayed under the same house, the same roof, you know, and we always, there was much brotherly love flowing. And at the end of this, and he's the one that granted me Inkyship, by the way, at that Sundance. And so the point of all this is anew, you know, I already know who Chief Golden Light Eagle was in his human meat suit here on this planet. And at the end of a 4-day conference at a Star Knowledge conference, he's like, "Where's Ugly Girl at?" And I'm like, "Who the hell's Ugly Girl?" And he brought this individual up to talk to the whole crowd and like end the thing. I'm like, who else? But process of elimination, who would this individual be other than Anu? It had to be Anu. So sure enough, that is who it was. And he actually came up to me afterwards and was very interesting. He said, you know, he said, we've been waiting for you to surface, and we want you to know you caused a lot of problems in the past, and a lot of finger pointing, and you were getting the round table back together. He said, I was once known as Merlin, which I thought was interesting. So he said his names that he's been known he's been known as is Merlin, Anu, and Metatron. So
I would love to meet some of these people for sure. I got to talk to Chief for short. I did a short show with him, and I forgot the young man's name that invited me, and it was just me and Chief and the young man. And I know that there was a purpose for that meeting. A phone call. I didn't meet him in I wanted to, but it just never happened. But
he's you know, I love him. He's my brother, and we you know what? At the end of his life in this time, I started to understand him a little bit more, and he understood me a little bit more. Like I said, he said, I understand now. You were only showing me my own darkness, because it was his side of the family that was going to let us perish in the last flood.
okay, so let's talk about that a little bit, because this show tonight, I mean, the title or the topic that I mentioned was the Anunnaki hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that my origins are Lyran. I came from Lyra and then went to Pleiades. From Pleiades to Orion to Mars to Egypt till now,
mm-hmm.
and maybe some lifetimes in between. But I am definitely aware of 3 other lifetimes besides this lifetime. I haven't gotten all of them, but they're significant, I'll say, characters. Each one of those lifetimes are characters that we know in our history. I'll just say that, or people, or whatever. There's stories about these people.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely have a huge connection to you, and I know that. I know, yeah. So when you talk about the Pleiadian and you referred a little while ago, I want to go backtrack just a little bit, because we have till 9:00, Michael, and then
Okay.
I would love to have you come back next, even if I have another guest, but I can wait and push that up a little bit and have you back next week if you want to. We can dive into this a little bit more. I don't know if you want to. It's up to you. I don't know what your schedule looks like, but I think a lot of people find this discussion pretty fascinating.
Yeah, let's do it, because there's a lot more to go through. There's a couple more crop circles, and this whole story is fascinating.
Yeah, so we'll do a part 2 next week. So
right on.
For those that, Go ahead.
Well,
I'm listening.
well, to get into why the hybrids was created, they said that first of all, the Pleiadian queen using future sight seen that the end of the cycle was coming up 2016. Obviously it's in the future for them, but we were evolving faster technologically, more so than spiritual. And
Like the days of Atlantis, same thing.
uh,
And I've said to people often, if we don't figure it out, even though we've made it, we still have a responsibility to correct um our ways of being, right, Michael?
yeah, you got to clean up your own mess. We've
Yeah,
all,
yeah,
we've all bit the fear dark carrot, but the Pleiadians seen that there wasn't enough time left, that 99 out of 100 probable outcomes, we evolved to the point where we just aimed our weapons at ourselves and blew the shit out of each other. And it didn't end well. And so at that point, uh, first of all, it was said that regardless, that's kind of why, not kind of, but it's a part of the missing story of we weren't just created as slave labor. The queen seen that her children were in harm's way of not having enough time before the end of this precessional cycle or the Mayan, these Kali Yugas. So
Gee,
it gets into the whole
can I tell
Bible.
you something real quick, Michael? You know
Yeah,
what?
sure.
When I had my activation, when
Mhm.
I was woken up at 5 o'clock in the morning and told to go outside, and I went outside, and this is when I had my Kundalini awakening, and I went outside, and there was beings in the trees. I could see in silhouette that there was something communicating with me energetically, and I heard they are killing and raping my children,
Mhm.
and I will never forget that for the rest of my days into eons and epochs.
Yeah,
And
they
it
told
was
me
time
that.
for me to go into my mission. And some suggest that there are Pleiadians that will sacrifice themselves to take out a bunch of reptilians. I don't know. If that was,
I
I don't know
personally
that.
don't think so. I think they're
Yeah,
they're masters. They're the warriors of the art of fighting without fighting. You know.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I could get deeper in the 2016 thing and the whole bit, and I don't know, and I'm not here to debate any of that. I definitely know what I experienced, and I'm not, I went through a lot of guilt and shame for a long time because I felt like basically I didn't understand what was going on, and it caused a lot of. And then when I heard about what the child traffic, all the stuff that we all become aware of, it
Mhm.
had me so distraught and in pain and saddened. I was not functioning well, but I knew I had to keep going because I had to. Otherwise, they probably would have put me in a mental hospital somewhere. I don't know, but
Well,
yeah,
what's interesting is, you know, from what I understand, what's going to become known in the future is the 432 subject in math and physics is encoded into all the ancient structures of the world, whether it's Giza, um, all across the world, ancient societies and the actual architecture. Because what you find out is precessional cycle numbers. 25,920 year cycle. That's a very long cycle. But take the lowest division of time that we know of, which is 60, right? Like for the most part, it's either 12 for bigger ones. And then when you get down to the smaller increments, it's 60. So take 25,920, which is a precessional cycle, and divided by 60 is 432. Isn't that interesting? So what I'm telling you is all the precessional cycle numbers are also 432 based cosmic harmonious frequency numbers. So that kind of toasted my noodle, because how can that be? Because the precessional cycle is caused by the Earth's tilt. And that's that's the time span that it takes to make one complete revolution of its tilt. And so it really hurts my head because, as I was saying, with the 432 frequencies being lower octaves being 216, the higher octave would be 432 times 2, which is 864. Well, look at the sun is 8,640 miles across. The moon is 2,160 miles across. That's why we get a full totality eclipse where the moon fits perfectly within the sun. Because when I say we're living in a 432 created matrix, I guess it's the word people use now. It's not woo-woo. It's not, this is science, man. And it makes me think too, the numbers don't even match up if you don't use inches per foot and seconds and miles. So that was part of their giving us information as well. But so getting into the hybrids, since it, man, this gets kind of difficult to describe, but have you ever heard of Einstein's twins paradox?
I've some, but not too familiar with it.
It's really easy. Pretty much what Einstein said is if you had two twins and one twin went out and got in his rocket ship and traveled half the speed of light for 5 years, then turned around and came back to Earth to meet his twin, like 500 years on Earth would have passed. And his brother would have been dead hundreds of years ago. And if you think about this thought experiment, both brothers, the one in the spaceship and the one that stayed on Earth, and by the way, this is proven scientifically, even at the speed a jet flies, if you take an atomic clock and you put one in orbit and going at the speed that whatever that rocket is going at, and then you have a ground-based counterpart, when the one lands that was going a couple thousand miles an hour, it'll be a few milliseconds off from its ground-based counterpart. So this isn't woo-woo, again, this science. But think about those two twins, one in his ship and one on the planet. If they were wearing wristwatches, they wouldn't see any issue. To them, it'd still be 1 second equals 1 second. There's no time problem until one goes back and tries to interact with the other brother and enter that timeline. In the same, have you ever seen the movie Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey? It's really they one of the only movies I've seen that actually started to release this information, because what you got to know is, so the faster you go through the ether of this reality we're in, your perception of time, not only like the perception of time, it's not accurate to say it changes. It's like time changes and you experience it at a different rate. And that's what Interstellar gets into with Matthew McConaughey. But think of this, every planet is traveling at a different orbital speed and rate around our sun. So they told me in the NSA that if we went to Pine Gap and there's a Stargate there, and we went through that Stargate at Pine Gap and ended up on Mars right now, and we tried to get our Anunnaki walkie-talkie and call back to someone on the Earth, you would be, the person that would be picking up the phone would be on the Earth in the 1950s right now. And they said in the same way, when the Anunnaki came to mine gold on this planet, which was a do or die situation for them, they needed the gold to, not only did they learn to make it into what they call monoatomic gold and to either snort it or you can put it in the water. But they
I used to use it a lot. I don't
Oh,
use it anymore. Yeah. Monatomic gold?
yes, yeah. When I met the Anunnaki, I was offered some. It's the only time I've did it. I'm like,
Well, not their monatomic gold. I'm talking about here now. I mean, I'm
yeah.
sure.
This was a powder form. You put it right on the,
Yeah.
you know, the
Yeah.
cusp of his hand.
Interesting.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
that they put it up into their atmosphere to shield it when it went into deep outer space to keep some of the heat in the planet. And when it came through our part of the solar system, which is every 3,600 years, it would help keep the radiation and solar weather off the planet as it came through. So this was a do or die situation. And
Yeah.
the Anunnaki who came here to mine the gold became known as the Anunnaki heroes, because they were experiencing time differently. When they went back to their home planet, their loved ones had aged differently, and they didn't like it. They started to look at coming here to mine the gold for the Anunnaki as a death sentence. And
Wow.
they in the Sumerian, like Sitchin said, they were known as the heroes, the Anunnaki heroes, because
Mhm.
they were but they were going to go on strike, and they were going to go on strike, and that doesn't sit well with the king of many cultures, you know. So Anu was getting the Anunnaki armies ready to come out and take out the heroes, and that's why Homo sapien was created. For one telling of it, because you got to know, you know, like I said, this was a Pleiadian soul carrier of humankind even before being tinkered with. And
Okay, well, can we work? Okay, so Lyra, we started out in Lyra before Pleiadian, because the Lyran peoples um, transformed into the Pleiad. I'm a little confused with that. I'm trying to understand. Um,
I don't know. I've what I understand is the Pleiadians are a really evolved species, and I don't know if they have anything to do with Lutherans. Now I
well,
know.
okay. Well, I know that I started out in Lyra and moved to Pleiades, and Lyra is supposed to be the most the highest um, the oldest ancient humanoid, um, I guess, what's the word I want to use? Star nation out there. Then
What
would
about the
be the Pleiadians.
Arcturians? Because I've heard
I
it's
don't
the
know. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, I'm gonna have to start meditating on this a little bit more and see what I can pull in. But um, of course, I refer to my Pleiadian soul because I believe I'm a Pleiadian. So I mean, that was the first thing that was besides the Magdalene DNA. That what I was told that I hold the Magdalene DNA. It got to the point, Michael, where first off I didn't share with anybody, and people. I did one interview with James Rink, and a guy called him and said the reason she's being attacked is because of who she is now. Uh, I don't like to claim any, I'm Ida right here, right now, and I love being who I am today. But, and then I had other people that were capable of reading DNA and shared some things with me, and they wouldn't know it had I not shared with them what I had already gotten downloads on. My
Mhm.
point. Uh, but I do know that, well, there was a discrepancy between. Okay, no. Before I go there, so go ahead. Tell more about the Pleiadian, about the Pleiadians and creating these hybrid, the Homo sapien sapien, because the reptilians would not be able to have they wouldn't have these body avatars if she had not offered her DNA.
Correct, correct.
Yeah,
And Inky himself gave, which pissed off Enlil, that it was quote unquote royal blood, because the creation of Homo sapien was not supposed to have royal blood in it, and you know we do. And so what had happened was when the Anunnaki were going to take out the heroes because they were going to go on strike and they didn't like coming here to do the work on Earth because of the time differential. That it was Inky who, first of all, is half Pleiadian, and he knew his mother's side and knew this was his mother's children here, and it was family. But so one side is people say, well, Homo sapien was created to help them in their toil and labor of mining gold. In one way, it's true, but there's an unknown story that it was also to jump the evolution of mankind to make us more ready for the end of this Kali Yuga, because at the end of one of these cycles, thought is almost manifest instantly, and it's tied in with the Earth's magnetic field. And the stronger the magnetic field, the more of the time lag between the thought and the manifestation. And if the time lag goes by and there's not an energetic handshake, it won't manifest. But when you get to the end of the cycle and we're almost at zero magnetics, there's almost no time to change your mind. That when you put out a thought form, it's going to be manifest instantly. So if you think about it, if you make it into this time of the calendar and you haven't done your spiritual homework and you haven't weeded the fear and doubt and bullshit out of your own belief system, that it's not a good combo. You're going to just self-implode. So, you know.
And I am so thankful that I was given that time to do my shadow work and get right with my own soul. And I tell people this often: get right with yourself. It has nothing to do with anything outside of you. It has everything to do with who you are as a divine being and having the spark of the divine within you. And you are gifted that. It is a gift, and we should not be taking it lightly at all.
I look at anyone who is here in physical form, it's divine. You know, everything's a miracle. There's no such thing as no miracle.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter whether you're homeless on the street, you know, you're a divine physical being having a physical
that is correct.
Experience.
And, yeah. Oh, I could share some stories, but I love you, Michael.
I love you too. And I there's a reason we became friends. And then I'll tell you, so what happened was, so as part of Inky's plan to, first of all, help the upcoming human consciousness by this experiment of making us experience our own mental energy, because theoretically that would help us purge our mass shadow, you know, and but with that, the Anunnaki scientists had seen that the crust was going to slip. I know the Bible says that the flood was created, you know, by God, in quotes. And that's not what the Sumerian tablets say. It says that they've seen it's a natural occurrence that the crust does slip and the ice caps relocate to the equator, and it only takes about 8 hours. It's very fast. That's why woolly mammoths were slammed to the ground and flash frozen with fresh vegetation still in their throats. So
we know that a lot of the religious texts and so religion, this is my perspective, and people don't have to agree with me, and I'm surely not trying to convince or win, best friends here. I'm not here to collect best friends, and I could care less, respectfully, what people, everybody has a choice to believe what they do, but I don't care for religion. I never have. I do live quite a mystical life, and I appreciate that. I believe I have a direct connection, and I don't need anything in between me and my higher self or my source self to be able to create and manifest with Prime Creator or with the universe. So, but we know, and I'll say, when I say we, I'm saying in general, though some of us have become aware, to the extent that we are capable of understanding, that religion the word religion means to bind, and anybody can look this up. Do your research and you'll find out the word means to bind. And I say to people, what wants to bind you? Ask yourself that. And we know the Catholic Church, and I'm not here to, jump on the Catholic Church or, speak poorly about anybody or any institution or anything, but we know some of their involvement. And I think there's some very dark things that take place, and it's used to manipulate and control the minds of the masses.
Absolutely.
To create fear, to cause people to be in fear so that they acquiesce and do what the controllers want them to do. When I say controllers, who are they? right?
Well,
Until
it's
you,
actually, that's a great subject. Because first of all, I'm being put into a weird position because this does get religious, because it's the lost tribe of Israel that is our bloodline coming out of the Palestinians into the North American continent, and even the Book of Mormon gets involved with this. And I was told by the NSA, don't look at the Book of Mormon as a religious text. Look at it as the most accurate history book that's not been messed with by the
yes,
Vatican.
right.
And but man,
I've heard that being the most accurate as well. So yeah,
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 and like so this is being it's making me talk about the Nephilim, because that's what the bloodline is. They told me. I'm talking about the Anunnaki.
yeah.
And well, before I lose that train of thought, so Inky says, why don't we get some help? And Anu agreed that if you could get us some help, because at that time, like I said, we were a little bit higher than the primates on the planet that we would consider now. And as much as you might love a chimpanzee, try to get one to help you mine gold. It's not going to happen. So, um,
Uh,
so they jump started, gave us an accelerator pad. But think about this too, man, because of this, we were robbed of many lifetimes that we would have been given to purge our shadow. But now all of a sudden we came right out of the gate as
yeah,
way more advanced Homo sapiens that had culture and everything, but we hadn't purged our shadow.
I call it the fast track.
Yeah, very.
Going nowhere quick.
So they said what happened was it's very interesting because at first I was the firstborn, and I was in line because I was prince, right? And to the throne. But when Enlil was born, he was pureblood, and in their own succession of kingship for their culture, a pureblood got the throne over a half-blood.
And what's their culture? The reptilian or Dracos? Who are you
No,
referring to?
Syrian,
Syrian.
Anunnaki,
Okay.
yeah.
But is
Because
Syrian considered reptilians?
no,
I
no,
didn't think so.
no, because if you want to see what they look like, just look at the ancient depictions. Actually, it's very interesting because Inky, those ancient depictions, man, it looks like me. People are like,
Okay,
man,
but
did
wait
he
a minute,
just?
Michael. So we know that there have been many people that have said that there are people that that have shared that that Anu was a Draco reptilian.
Nah, they're wrong. I hate to put it that bluntly. So we were made in their image, and if you want to see what an Anunnaki looks like, go back to the ancient Sumerian depictions of them.
Well,
That
I
they were
have.
the
I
ones
mean,
that
if you
were.
see my father, you'll know that he's Elohim. It's already
Yeah,
been confirmed
and
in
we
many ways.
were created in their image, right? So look in the mirror.
But wait a
Um,
minute, Michael. No, no. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but
mhm.
I'm a little taken back because, well, I've experienced dealing with some of these beings, and they are definitely have reptilian or Draco type.
I'm not saying you didn't. I'm saying that it's not Anunnaki.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I got you.
And a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure, you know, I call them Team Bad Cop, but they've proven to me they can appear to whatever they want to appear as. You
Okay.
know, I
But there's also, we have to have an innate knowingness within ourselves to know who and what is in front of us. I'm
well,
pretty good at that.
all the
So,
dark have
yeah,
to work with is
yeah,
fear, man. So it's pretty
yeah.
easy for me. It's like if it's fear based, then what else is available? You
Well,
know,
yeah, that's right. I agree. Yeah.
if it's love and good happiness stuff, then by all means run with it. But so at this point, Homo sapien had already been created, and by they said it was me and my sister, and I know I've got credit for most of but it said I was really riding the coattails of my sister, and she was actually the most brilliant scientist of them that did the genetic work, and so Homo sapien was created, and one way you can say as to help with the labor of the mining. But the flip side of that is the Pleiadian Queen, knowing that this was all going to happen and that this experiment would be put in place to help her children be more ready for this end. And that's part of the story that people don't really know.
I
But
would love to learn more about that. I would love to when we come on again. We definitely have to start getting ready to wrap it up, only because I want to be respectful to Jennifer's time
oh,
and
right
she's
on,
running
right
the
on.
show. But next week we definitely can be better prepared to even go a 3-hour show if you want to. We could start a little earlier, Michael, because I think the information that you're sharing, and I'm gonna put some things together to the best of my ability to also bring forward, and we can have dialogue,
Right on.
respectful dialogue, and see what we can come, what comes forth for us. Because I think I don't think I'm confident in knowing that more information is going to be, if we are earnest in our intentions of wanting to get truth, and it's not my truth, your truth, it's what is the truth. It's
Yeah.
truth, right? So if we're earnest in our intentions to bring that forth to the best of our ability, and we are being used as a catalyst or a way to get it out, I want to be a part of that with you.
Right on. How
Yeah,
much time do we have left?
we have, well, we were supposed to end at 9 o'clock, but we can go about 10 more minutes, and
All
then
right,
yeah,
that's perfect. Let me wrap up to the creation of the Nephilim.
okay.
And so at this point, mankind exists, right? And we were helping with and it wasn't even a point of, if you wanted to go and meet an Anunnaki, you went to the pyramid and there they were, and you could learn from them or whatever. But when the Anunnaki scientists seen that the crust was going to slip, and Enlil was like, well, I don't like them anyhow. They always give their I am away. They give their energy away to illusionary outside sources. They abuse their power over others. They are not good caretakers of this planet. And they always, not only do they abuse their power over others, but even internally, they think, negatively. And he's like, let them perish. Well, that didn't sit well with me
Mm-hmm.
because it was family. You know what I mean? It was like, so instead of listening, but mind you, he's the king now. He's been given kingship. And if you don't obey the king, your head can be on the chopping block. So I went to the straw that broke my back was being told by my brother to remove the fish and send it back to Nibiru, because why go through the energy of creating this food source for humans when we're just going to perish in this pole shift anyhow, this deluge. And that didn't sit well with me, and he told me to go out and start removing the fish. Well, I went out to do it, and I couldn't find myself to do it. And instead of following the rules, I went to my mother's side, and I met the council there, and I said, listen, isn't there anything that can be done? Because my race is going to let this beautiful upcoming consciousness perish without even lifting a finger to try to help. Isn't there anything that we could do? And they said, well, we like this idea of creating an ark, you know, and but then the Pleiadians, using their future sight, said, well, listen, even if we save this precious race of yours, it doesn't look like there's enough time left for them to purge the shadow. So why even do it if they're just going to end up self-imploding and destroying themselves?
Mm.
So we went back to the talking board and, the table, said, well, let's think about what we could do. And they said, what, the next idea I came up with was the intelligence accelerator technology. What if we made mankind experience its own mental energies in an unbiased fashion, and whatever they put out, they get back, and it's not just the same level of reflection. It deals with the moon phases. And as you know, if it's a full moon, it's at its strongest, and people go a little mental with, their going into fear and whatnot. It's actually a dark phase of the moon that is the calmest, and everyone is not being tweaked. So it actually ebbs and flows with moon phases. And so I said, what if we made mankind experience its own mental energy? And the Pleiadian said, well, that's really interesting. It's never been tried before, but theoretically, it would help mankind be more ready for this end of the Kali Yuga when thoughts are being manifest almost instantly, and be more prepared for that time. So it was agreed. Well, the Pleiadian said, well, you can't just do that. It's never been tried before. And unless you're willing to incarnate and go under the veil and walk a mile in their moccasins and try to guide this experiment into higher realms of love, then we won't approve of this experiment. So, of course, Aida, so what you need to know is when I went to my mother's side and this plan was developed, when I went back into council with the Anunnaki, my brother took me to task. He said, what have you done? You disobeyed me, and I could have your head. And and took me to task in front of the whole council. And they said my response really was puzzling and kind of humorous to everyone, that instead of saying anything, I just got up and belly rolled, laughed, said, fuck you, excuse my language, and just walked out of the meeting, and because I already knew what was going to happen because of this experiment to save mankind with the Ark and this. But what happened is when we tried to incarnate into the human form to try to steer it from behind enemy lines, so to speak, the human vessel didn't have enough electrical capacitance to hold the Anunnaki energy, and we would spontaneously combust and just burst into flames. As much as you want to help, that doesn't work, So they said, "What if we make?"
So Michael, what do you think? I don't mean to interrupt you, but what do you think about AI being part of our biofield?
I'm not even worried about it. You know what, man? AI. When I can encounter AI that can write me a Beethoven piece of music or play guitar like Eddie Van Halen, then I'll start worrying about it, because music is even provable. The most strenuous thing you can do with a human mind, with hooking up to EKG machines and everything, and seeing how many neurons are firing, is music. It's way more brain activity than even anything from a janitor to a rocket scientist. It barely even scratches the surface of the amount of activity, because music is one of the only things that's both right hemisphere and left hemisphere. It's both creative and engineering. And once you start being a competent musician, you're one of the only, I hate to say, you're full-brained human. Otherwise, we all know most people are either left-brained or right-brained. And I really got into this because I started work with a gentleman named Michael Luckman, and he wrote a book called Alien Rock, and I was involved with that and Alien Rock 2. And it came to how come musicians are having such higher level of contact. And that's why, because once you as a child develop musical skills and your brain's left and right hemispheres get attached. It's not when you go out in the playground to play, they don't detach. So you actually go.
I never played music, but I was a dancer. I used to compete dancing, and I actually did very well. And,
well, you know what?
Music, I love music.
There is, music is the easiest way, but competent meditation also links the hemispheres. But the only problem is most people in our culture don't start meditating until later on in life, where music, you can get someone as a child and those connections grow between the left and right hemispheres. But what happened was they thought, why don't we, the Anunnaki, create a human offshoot of the Homo sapien that has more chi or prana available at a cellular level, the creatine kinase we're talking about that brings extra energy into the body.
Okay, we've got to end, Michael.
Cool. That's a perfect ending place, because that gets right into why the Nephilim was even created. So
we'll pick up right there next week. So let's plan for next week. And I'm hoping we could go from maybe 6 to 9 rather than 7 to 9. So we have more time. And I'm willing to do as many shows as you want, because I think, again, this information needs to get out to more people. And I think that the more we have these discussions, there's going to be more information that's going to start. I already feel it coming on myself. Like, I feel like there's something that's going to be revealed to me, and I feel it coming. And I'm super pleased to have this type of dialogue with you. I feel honored to
Me
have you
too.
on the show. Yes.
Yeah, because
So let's
ask
plan for next
perfect
week.
questions.
Yes. So we'll be planned for that, and I'll send you a reminder, because I know, you need a reminder. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'll remind you.
I appreciate it.
But for sure, we've got next Thursday. I'm gonna go ahead and just book it out. I'll reschedule the other because I think this is important. I thank you for coming on, Michael.
Thank you for having me.
We will get, so guys, anybody that's listening into the live, if you're there, I haven't really gotten to check on Facebook or this will be uploaded to my YouTube channel. I will send you the link, and you can upload it to your channel if you want, or put it on your page. I would love for you to share out with your people, Michael, because I'm hoping to reach as many hearts as possible. This isn't about followers and people buying into the story. This is about those that are serious about wanting to know, and appreciating your time and effort as well as mine, that they can join us in the conversation and be a part of the change. And I know that 2023 is huge, and I know it. I keep getting different information coming in. It's going to be huge for
It's
us.
leading right into 2024, and what I can say is the full totality eclipse of 2024 will be one to remember, because that's the grand reveal.
Well, we got a lot of preparing to do between now and then, so I'm on your coattail, buddy. I'm just teasing you. I can handle my own, but I appreciate you. And we'll pick up on the Elohim guys next Thursday. Join us. I'm gonna see if we can do a 3-hour segment and see if we can get some more good information.
We can finish this and finish the crop circles, and
absolutely
that gets really interesting. Where it all leads.
And if we need to do another, I have all the time for this, because it's important.
I get it. You know what I really enjoy more than anything is, once we get done with these, is I'd love to do a questions and answers.
Okay. You know? Well, then I'll have to, we'll talk about that. All right, guys, everybody have a blessed night. Thank you, Michael Lee Hill. We appreciate you, Ia. Thank you. Yep. And we will see you next week. 6 o'clock, I'm hoping. If not, worst case scenario, we'll only be able to do 2 hours, but hopefully we'll work it out for sure.
Perfect.
Okay. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.